Ah, peaceful, isn't it? This is one of the many quiet, breathtaking moments in Mushishi, an anime that follows a wandering man named Ginko as he travels through surreal, almost dreamlike landscapes. These places may seem tranquil and peaceful at first, but they are teeming with mysterious entities called mushi. Now, mushi is actually a real Japanese word, and it means bug or insect. But these aren't the kind of bugs you swat with a newspaper. In this world, mushi are something else entirely. Not good, not evil, they simply exist. Somewhere between life and spirit, mushi are more like a natural phenomena than living creatures. They can affect the weather, they can affect people's senses, memories, even time itself. Most of the time, humans don't really notice them, but when things go wrong, that's where Ginko steps in. He's a mushi master who is referred to as Mushishi. Basically a traveling doctor, scientist, and a part-time exorcist rolled into one. His job is to help people understand and, when possible, live in harmony with the mushi. But in the worst case scenarios, he's forced to intervene to drive the mushi away entirely. It's not a pretty process, and it's never Ginko's first choice. His goal isn't really to eliminate mushi, but to make them coexist with humans. This gives us a glimpse into Ginko's character. I mean, at first, he comes off as a bit jaded, calm, collected, and not too overly emotional about the people he meets or the situations he ends up in. But that doesn't mean he's cold or heartless. In fact, Ginko treats both humans and mushi with the same quiet respect. He doesn't see himself as above either of them, and he's just there to understand, to help where he can. We don't learn much about him at first, and he is very mysterious and always on the move, always smoking that weird little cigarette or whatever that is. But his deep knowledge of mushi makes you wonder, what has he seen to become this way, Why is he so jaded? Maybe there's a reason behind this. Thankfully, the anime doesn't keep us in the dark forever, and it does slowly kind of unravel pieces of Ginko's past, offering just enough to deepen the mystery. Now, that being said, it can feel a little underwhelming. The show never really fully dives into his character the way some viewers might hope. The episodic format stays front and center, which is completely fine, and honestly it's kind of part of what makes Mushishi so special. But because of this episodic structure, Ginko's development takes a backseat. He doesn't really change as the series goes on. There's no dramatic arc, no grand evolution, and at times that can kind of make him feel a bit flat or one-dimensional. Still, there is something very compelling about a character who remains steady in a world that's constantly shifting, and all these experiences and situations he goes through, he never loses his cool, which makes you think, what has this man been through? Now, like I just mentioned, Mushishi is episodic, and honestly, that might be its greatest strength. Across 3 seasons, the series takes you on a journey through remote villages, misty forests, snowy mountains, and forgotten corners of the world. Each place has its own people and its own problems, and its own encounters with unique mushis. What makes it so captivating is that the show is not predictable. You never quite know what each episode will bring. One moment you're watching a heartwarming tale of recovery, and next thing you're sitting with a tragedy that quietly breaks your heart. The stories that are presented in Mushishi are imaginative, creative, surreal, and very deeply human. Some episodes are gentle, others hit like a truck, and yeah, a few might even bring you to tears, to be honest. For me, that's one of the biggest reasons I keep coming back to this series, the mysterious nature of the mushi and how they quietly affect the world Ginko moves through. We don't just hear about their presence either, we see it firsthand. Their influence touches humans, nature, even the environment itself in strange and subtle ways. It's just such a fascinating concept. Now, speaking of environments and landscapes, another thing that really stands out in Mushishi is the artwork. The backgrounds don't just look beautiful, they feel like living, breathing paintings. Probably because, well, they kind of are. The series draws heavy inspiration from traditional Japanese landscape art, especially the kind you would see in old ink wash paintings or serene scrolls depicting mountains, forests, and rivers. Every scene is soaked in atmosphere, mist drifting over the hills, sunlight filtering through the trees, water quietly reflecting the sky. It's not just pretty to look at, these backgrounds create a tense sense of stillness and a depth that pulls you into the world. They make you feel like you've stepped into a forgotten part of nature. I don't usually go out of my way to talk about music in anime, but oh man, Mushishi is a rare exception. Soundtrack is one of the most beautiful I've ever heard in any medium. Even now, I find myself going back to certain tracks, pieces that quietly stayed with me long after finishing it. It's not the kind of music you'd call catchy per se. There's no flashy beat, no, like swelling orchestra. Instead, it's subtle, sparse, atmospheric, and somehow it always arrives at the perfect moment, just as the story reaches its emotional peak, or as silence falls over a mist-covered landscape. It's just that kind of sound that makes you want to sit alone in a quiet room and just reflect, letting that, feeling sink in. And yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that I have done that at times while listening to this very soundtrack. Much like the show itself, the soundtrack is deeply emotional without ever being too loud about it. It lingers kind of in the background like a memory. In a series where so much is kind of left unsaid, the music often speaks the loudest, capturing the emotions that the characters themselves can't always express. You're probably wondering, after everything I've said, why should you even watch this? It sounds kind of boring, for the lack of a better term, right? Like, there's not much going on, it's nothing exciting, there's no high stakes fights or flashy battles, no characters screaming about friendship in the middle of powering up. But hey, that's kind of the point. I actually made a video before about why more people should read boring manga, and Mushishi is the perfect example of what I'd call a boring anime, I guess. That's anything but boring, that's a legit an insult to Mushishi. So I'm not saying Mushishi's boring, but sure, it's slow paced, it's quiet, it takes time, but beneath that calm surface there's just so much happening. The grip of Mushishi is in how everything works together. The atmosphere, the characters, the strange and touching stories, the hand-painted landscapes, and the music. It all blends into this beautiful, meditative whole. Like a warm bowl of something you didn't know you needed until you tasted it. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little poetic here, but you get what I mean. This isn't just a series made of strong parts. It's a complete experience, and for me, it delivers on every front. Okay, well, I did complain earlier about the lack of character development for Ginko, but honestly, I can overlook that. The anime is just that good. So, what are you waiting for? Grab a hot cup of coffee, get cozy, and let Mushishi quietly blow your mind. I mentioned this before in a YouTube post, but it's worth saying that Mushishi is getting a collector's edition omnibus re-release of the manga. So if you're more into reading than watching, or just prefer manga over anime, this might be the perfect time to check it out. Anyway, that's it from me guys. Thanks so much for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to show some support and let me know your thoughts on Mushishi down in the comments. And hey, if you got some recommendations for anime with a similar kind of vibe, I would love to hear it. This is your host Rich Taku, and I will be signing off.